Let's start with Coach of the Year. I think that there's a lot of candidates that this could be. The good thing about this, and the interesting thing about this is there really was only one category when we talk about these NFL awards that I don't think is going to be much of a competition. And we'll get to that one in a second. But most of these awards is going to be uh, a strong competition, in my opinion. And Coach of the Year is no different because I think that we're going to have coaches and we're going to have teams that we may not think should be as good as they are, probably exceed expectation. Like the Atlanta Falcons. I think Raheem Morris has a really good chance of winning Coach of the Year if the Atlanta Falcons win the division. Now, Todd Bowles also has a chance to win Coach of the Year because I think there's a lot of people, and I'm not mad at that. There's a lot of people that think that the Bucks are a Super Bowl caliber team, and understandably so. They have a Super Bowl caliber roster. So you look up, and there may be 1, 2 in the NFC. Then yeah, I can see Todd Bowles winning Coach of the Year. Obviously, you have the Sean McVays and the Rams. You have the Kyle Shanahan and the 49ers. If the 49ers just have a resurgent year, then I get them. I think Pete Carroll is a really good candidate for the Raiders. A lot of people are high on the Raiders because of Ashton Genty, because of Geno Smith, and I may not be I may not be the highest on the Raiders. Side note. Did y'all see Amari Cooper? Hold on. I'm going to get back to this in a second. Amari Cooper. And I let me first say congratulations on a very successful career. Being one of the best recognized players at Alabama, and then having a long career in the NFL. And I always say that. I always say when it's over, it's when you have to contemplate if you want to play a sport like football, that's when it's over. Football is too grueling of a sport to have 1 foot in, 1 foot out. It just, in my opinion, it just don't work. But Amari Cooper signs with the Raiders, a team where he spent most of his career with. You see Ashton Genty, you see Jacoby Myers, and you think to yourself, yeah, man, I'm done. You look at Geno Smith throwing you the ball, and if Geno Smith gets hurt, which obviously we don't, you got Kenny Pickett as a backup, and he was like, you know what? This whole football thing ain't for me no more. And retires. Oh, boy. Mind you, he signed with the Raiders maybe 3 or 4 days ago. So it took a week for him to be like, yeah, nah. Wave the right, throw in the towel. That's crazy. But shout out to Amari Cooper. Happy for you, able to retire on your own merit. So, shout out. But back to what I was saying. Back to the awards. Coach of the Year. Pete Carroll has a good chance of winning Coach of the Year as well. But my Coach of the Year, I'm gonna go with Mac McDonald, the head coach of the Seattle Seahawks. When I did my NFC West prediction, I said that I was much higher on the Seahawks than a lot of people, especially if Matthew Stafford's not going to be 100%. And I'm not 100% sold on Brock Purdy being able to lead the 49ers back to the promised land, even though I did see that they got a deal done with Jawan Jennings, which is good. That's a receiver for him. But I think in that division, especially with Sam Darnold being your quarterback, and the roster that they have, if they are able to win that division, a division again that a lot of people are saying is it's a foregone conclusion. It's either going to be the Rams or the 49ers. If they're able to win that division, I think Mac McDonald is going to win the Coach of the Year. And honestly, the reason why I have him winning Coach of the Year is because I think that there's a good shot that the that the Seahawks win the NFC West. So my Coach of the Year, I have Mac McDonald. And again, I think that there's going to be a very tight race, especially towards the end. You also have, John Harbaugh, Jim Harbaugh, Andy Reid. Like it's going to be a tough competition. But I think if the Seahawks are able to win the division and able to look much better than a lot of people think they were, if Sam Darnold has a similar year this year than he did last year, success-wise, remember there was a point where the Vikings were like 14-2 before they lost like the last two games. So, I have Mac McDonald winning the Coach of the Year. Let's go to Comeback Player of the Year. And I'm not gonna lie. My decision was kind of swayed by what I saw last night. Now, in no way, shape, or form will I ever say that I am a Cowboys fan, Cowboys supporter. I'm not. I want nothing but failure from the Dallas Cowboys. Let's just keep it a bean. But Dak Prescott looked really good against the Philadelphia Eagles. And I was also reminded that Dak Prescott missed most of the season last year due to injury, due to a hamstring. If Dak Prescott is able to look that good for the majority of the year, again, especially with the defense, there's still a bunch of question marks after losing Micah. If Dak is able to get this offense, because a lot of people think that the offense is going to be like top tier, and I understand why. I think Dak Prescott is going to win Comeback Player of the Year. I think he has a good shot to win Comeback Player of the Year. So, and again, last night really or Thursday Night Football really kind of swayed how I felt about that award, because there's a lot of people that you can give this award to, but I don't know. Dak Prescott is the way that he looked, the way that he was making good reads. Again, a lot of his incompletions were drops. So I have Dak Prescott winning Comeback Player of the Year. I think this is the only award this is the only award that's kind of somebody's award to lose, and that is the Defensive Rookie of the Year. I don't think that there's anybody that's going to be more impactful as a rookie on the defensive side of the ball than Abdul Carter for the Giants. I have been preaching how the Giants possibly is going to have the best pass rush in football. A huge reason for that is Abdul Carter. Now, you can talk about what's his name, Malachi. I think Malachi or Malik. Malachi Starks from the Ravens. He's the best safety. He was the best safety in the draft. He could play a huge part. I don't think there's anybody else that's going to be as impactful. Maybe Travis Hunter. But I don't think that he's going to be on defense. He's the backup corner right now for the Jags. I don't know just how much of an impact he can have on the defense side of the ball. At least not a big enough impact to take Abdul Carter off of the number one spot, in my opinion. So I think the Giants are going to have arguably the best pass rush in football. Abdul Carter is a huge reason for that. He was drafted second for a reason. I have Abdul Carter winning the Defensive Rookie of the Year, and I don't think it's close, honestly. Uh, I don't really see another player that's going to be or could be as impactful as a rookie defensively than him. Um, and if not, if there is a player, obviously we'll talk about it, but I don't see it. Now, offensive rookie of the year was kind of difficult because you have Travis Hunter, you have Cam Ward, you have Ashton Genty, you have T Mac from the Panthers. All those are extremely viable candidates. Um, and I think that this award is going to go to the person that has the most value and opportunity. I don't know if this is going. Okay, I have Ashton Genty winning the Offensive Rookie of the Year just because I think he is going to play a huge part in the Raiders' offense. I think that T Mac is going to play a huge part as well, but you also have Xavier Legette on that team. I think he's going to take away a lot of the catches from T Mac. Uh, Travis Hunter is obviously going to play a huge part in the Jaguars offense, but I also think Brian Thomas Jr. is going to play more of a part, seeing as though I think he's a better wide receiver than him. And I don't know how many. I think the closest person to Ashton Genty is going to be Cam Ward because he is the quarterback. I just don't know how successful he's going to be with the weapons that he has. Yes, I understand Calvin Ridley is really good. Tyler Lockett is really good, but I don't know if if the connection with Cam Ward and those players, if that's going to result in winning. Uh, and honestly, I don't know if Ashton Genty and the Raiders are going to be winning like that either, but I do think that Ashton Genty is going to have more flashier plays, in my opinion, and going to be more. He's going to have more carries, so there's going to be more of an impact, in my opinion. I think that's a extremely difficult award to win. And I think because of just the sheer volume of which he's going to be used and get the ball, Ashton Genty, I have winning Offensive Rookie of the Year. Let's go to Offensive Player of the Year, since we're on the offensive side of the ball. This was difficult because there are so many players that you could see having a huge year this year. And especially after looking at last year, Saquon Barkley is somebody that could definitely win this award. Someone like Derrick Henry can win this award. Someone like Lamar Jackson. Someone like Justin Jefferson. Amon-Ra St. Brown. Jahmyr Gibbs. All these players are deserving of and could be deserving, I'll say, of this award. I think that they're going to be high impact, high usage, high volume players. And their teams outside of maybe Justin Jefferson is going to have a lot of wins attached to them. I mean, we're talking about the Lions, the Ravens, the Eagles, like the Vikings. I think that this is a wide open award. However, only one person can win, obviously. And I remember how the Bengals looked last year. I remember how good the Bengals were. I remember how, when I say good the Bengals were, I'm talking about their offense. Their offense was arguably the best offense in football. They had the passing leader in Joe Burrow. They had the Triple Crown winner in Jamar Chase, and it was just electric. I think we're going to get a lot of the same when it comes to the Bengals. their defense still isn't that good. Even though they did get a deal done with Trey Hendrickson for a year. They did get the deal done with Shamor, the rookie, who is a defensive player and a high draft pick. I think that's that they have a chance there. But I think their defense, especially the back end of their defense, the corners and safety, boy, they're going to have a tough time this year. But I think we're going to see a lot of the same, which we saw last year, i.e., a lot of Joe Burrow, a lot of Jamar Chase, a lot of T. Higgins, a lot of offense, a lot of shootouts. And because of that, I'm not saying that he's going to win the Triple Crown again, but I think that it's going to put Jamar Chase in prime position to front run and essentially win the Offensive Player of the Year. Again, I think that this, especially when you look at the direction that the league is in, I think that this is going to be a very tough award. But just because of the sheer fact of Jamar Chase is one of, if not the best wide receiver in the league, and he is going to get a lot of targets, a lot of touches. I don't know how. I don't know. I think Saquon Barkley is the best running back in the league right now. I don't know if he'll have this. I don't think he'll have the same, and it's damn near impossible, but have the same amount of success that he did last year, damn near cracking 2,000 yards, or damn near cracking the most rushing yards in NFL history. I think he was like 100-something yards away from that. He definitely cracked 2,000, but I mean, I don't know. But, and then also, we don't know Justin Jefferson. We don't know Christian McCaffrey. He can also have a comeback player of the year. I don't know. But I have Jamar Chase winning the offensive player of the year. If you go to defensive player of the year, I think this is a 4-man race. I think 4 people in the league are going to be in the running to win this. I think it's either going to be Michael Parsons, Xavier McKinney, T.J. Watt, or Myles Garrett. I think those uniformly are the 3 names you really hear of, even though I know last year Patrick Surtain won. And I know Stingley in Houston is really good. In fact, I'm going to say 5 because I think Patrick Surtain is going to be he's probably the best corner in football. I think that the Browns are going to be terrible offensively this year. And because of that, I think Myles Garrett is going to have a lot of time to shine. And I think Myles Garrett is really the only saving grace on this. Even though I know I've raved when I did my when I did my AFC North breakdown, I raved that the Browns have a good roster. They just don't have the quarterback position buttoned up. That is all true. But not having a quarterback position kind of affects a lot. What it does not affect is Myles Garrett. Actually, it may affect Myles Garrett because Myles Garrett might be on the field a lot more than he wants to be. I think Myles Garrett is going to win Defensive Player of the Year. And that's no offense to Xavier McKinney I think what he does in Green Bay. It's going to be tough. I don't know. Michael Parsons was my first clear answer, but when I hear that he has to take epidurals before every game, that kind of is pause. And then Xavier McKinney, he was really good last year, but he didn't win. I don't know if Patrick Surtain is going to be able to have the same amount of success, i.e. winning it. I think he's going to be incredible. I just don't know if he's going to be good enough to win it. So, I don't know. T.J. Watt, I think T.J. Watt has a really good shot too. Uh, but to be honest with you, and I think this is no fault to him. I think it's just unfortunately the cards he's dealt. I think people have gotten numb to what they see T.J. Watt do. I think people have he's been doing it for so long at such a high level. It's kind of expected, and it's hard for T.J. Watt to win that award because one, he's up there in age, and two, I think as much as it shouldn't be, I think people expect him to get it done. Like people expect him to do that already. And that takes away from voting. That takes away from everything. On top of the fact of he has missed some time, I think the last 3 years. Now, I don't know if it's enough time for him to not win the award, but he has missed time, and I think that has hurt him more than anything. I think Myles Garrett is arguably the best defensive player in football, and I think that he will win Defensive Player of the Year. So, you got MVP. You're hearing a groundswell of people say essentially the same thing I said last year. I believe that Lamar Jackson should be a 3-time MVP right now, but they gave it to Josh Allen. Shout out to Josh Allen. He had a good season as well. I just don't think he had a better season than Lamar Jackson. But that's what we got. I think that this is going to be a big year for a couple players. I think this is going to be a big year for Josh Allen. I don't remember who asked this question. I'm trying to think because I want to give you the proper credit. Cam Newton. Cam Newton's podcast, 4th and 1, had Gerald McCoy on it. And they were talking about who is the most impactful player for their team. Maybe not the best player, but who's the most impactful player for their team. And I think Gerald McCoy said Josh Allen. And I wholeheartedly agree. The Bills would be a high draft team if they didn't have Josh Allen. Josh Allen, and this is the big reason why he won the MVP last year. While I think Lamar Jackson deserved it, I'm not mad, and I understand why Josh Allen got it. Because if you're talking about MVP, if you're talking about most important player for their team, I don't know if there's anybody more important than Josh Allen. Because if you look at that roster, they'd have a tough time winning games on a consistent basis if it wasn't for the greatness of Josh Allen. And I think that's going to be the same this year. I know that they had some pieces and everything, but their defense is still – they had injuries. Matt Milano missed a lot of time. But I think this is yet another year where Josh Allen has to be Superman. I think that this is going to be a revenge year for Patrick Mahomes. I do think Rashee Rice being out the first 6 games is definitely going to hurt. But people are kind of throwing away the Chiefs and Patrick Mahomes like he's trash. I think he's going to have to I think this is a year to remind people, no, hold on, I'm still the best quarterback in the league by a wide margin. I'm not saying that he's going to win. I'm just, I think if the Bengals would have made it to the playoffs, Joe Burrow would have been the MVP last year. I'm not saying if they make it to the playoffs that he's going to be the MVP this year. What I'm saying is Joe Burrow was good enough to win MVP last year, and I think that his name is going to be in the running for MVP this year. I think there's a lot of people that's going to be Jaden Daniels. I think Jaden Daniels has a good chance of putting his name in that MVP conversation. You know, but I think there's going to be one MVP, and I believe that's going to be Lamar Jackson. I don't know if you've noticed. Obviously, yes, the playoffs is a different thing. But I don't know if you've noticed, but every year Lamar Jackson continues to get better. Now, I do know that I was a little skeptical when I put Lamar Jackson's name because I also said last year I think Lamar Jackson's done winning MVPs until he wins the Super Bowl. And to a certain extent, I still believe that. I still believe that people, especially voters, are only Lamar Jackson's played himself to a realm where they only care about what you did in the playoffs. Anytime we talk about Lamar Jackson, anytime we talk about this Baltimore Ravens team, it seems like the entire conversation only goes towards, well, the playoffs. And I understand. I get it. And Lamar Jackson plays a huge part in that. I think that he's good enough to win it. And I have him winning the MVP, but I don't have solace in my pick because I also think that people are going to stop giving him the MVP. It's kind of like what they did LeBron. LeBron was so great, they just stopped giving him the MVP. It's just like, if we do that, and they did that with Michael Jordan too. If we do this, if we give it to the best player, LeBron, MJ, they're going to win it every year. So let's, I don't think it's right, but that's just what it is. But I said that to say I have Lamar Jackson winning the MVP. I think he's gonna be great, which is also going to lead into who I have going to the Super Bowl. I don't think there's a team with a better roster in the AFC than the Baltimore Ravens. Now, yes, again, goes back to what we just talked about. Lamar Jackson and this Ravens team have to put it together. It's not just Lamar. The entire team has to put it together in the playoffs. It's like when they went to the AFC Championship, the first half, the defense was god-awful. It just was. But then that's when the Ravens on offense, the whole team just stopped running the ball. They were just last year, bunch of drops. Lamar Jackson had the interception. Mark Andrews had the fumble. He had the drop at the end. I think Derrick Henry had a couple drops. It's just like, hey, come on now. I think the whole team has to get it together. But I don't think there's a roster better in the AFC. I don't think there's a roster better than the Ravens. Especially when you get someone like Zaire Alexander. Obviously, injuries played a huge part, but if he's able to stay healthy, you have him. Like, you have DeAndre Hopkins, who I think is going to be like a safety blanket for the wide receiver room. I just – in the AFC, I have the Ravens representing them because I don't know if there's a team in the AFC that have a better roster than the Ravens. I think the Ravens can beat you in a lot of ways. Lamar Jackson can throw the ball, as we've seen the last few years. He has a plethora of weapons: Zay Flowers, Rashad Bateman, Isaiah Likely, Mark Andrews, Derrick Henry, DeAndre Hopkins. Like, they have weapons. Defensive side of the ball, Roquan Smith, who's one of the best linebackers in the league. Kyle Hamilton, who's probably the best safety in the league. Marlon Humphreys, come on, Nate Wiggins, Starks, the guy we just talked about out of Georgia. They have some pieces. Kyle Van Noy, Meta BK, come on, Owe. Yeah, no. I think that the Ravens, they have the best roster in the AFC, and I think they will be representing the AFC in the Super Bowl. Then you get to the NFC. I'm going to take my bias out of it because obviously I want to say Washington. I will also admit that Thursday night skewed a lot of things for me. Thursday night effectively changed some of my thinking. Before Thursday, I would have easily said it was going to be the Ravens and the Eagles in the Super Bowl. The AFC's best roster going against arguably the best roster in football, and obviously in the NFC going head-to-head. And I will also admit that I think Jalen Carter not being there definitely threw the entire defense off kilter. But the Cowboys was carving up the Eagles' defense. And if the Eagles' defense got remotely any type of stop, it was usually shot down by a penalty. The defense just wasn't. It didn't look like the defense that we're used to seeing. And again, a lot of that could be Jalen Carter not being there. Who knows? But a lot of that could also be you lost a lot of important defensive pieces this offseason. And that was one of the fears going into the season. How would this team look? How would the defense look when you lose the pieces that they lose? They were damn near getting carved up by the Cowboys. And yes, I know the Cowboys are a good offense. But there's a better offense out there, in my opinion, that can carve this team up, and that is the Lions. I know I have been uber critical of the Lions when we talk about losing Ben Johnson, losing Aaron Glenn. They're two coordinators. I've also been critical about how is this defense going to look, seeing as though they lost a lot of pieces to injury last year. How are they going to, But as I sit here today, let me speed this up. I have the Ravens and I have the Green Bay Packers in the Super Bowl. I think if you don't know what Jordan Love you're going to get, but if you get a good Jordan Love, plus you have Micah Parsons, plus you have this defense, plus you have, because you also have Rashad Gary, you have Xavier McKinney. Like, this has the Packers have a chance to be one of the best defenses in football, on top of having Christian Watkins and Golden and Dobbs and Josh Jacobs. I think the Super Bowl is going to be the Ravens and the Packers. And I have the Ravens winning the Super Bowl. I know. Okay? I know. I said that I do not, and I'm not going to continue to pick the Ravens. I know I said this. I know I said that I'm done trusting the Ravens because I pick them damn near every year because every year they have one of the best rosters. I know this. I know. Shit, I'm hard-headed, okay? I'm stubborn in a lot of areas, I've been told. I know. I'm sorry. I have the Ravens winning the Super Bowl. They have one of the best rosters, and they have arguably the best player in football, in Lamar Jackson. Oh, man, you stayed to the end of the video. I appreciate you. If you like what you saw, be sure to hit that subscribe button so you'll never miss any content from your boy. You can also go back and watch past episodes, past clips, and don't forget that the Unpopular Podcast, new episodes drop every Wednesday and Saturday. Appreciate you.